Hello, I'm Robert, and I'm here to talk a little bit about what you can do if you get a sudden panic attack. You've seen some story that scares you on the internet, and then you're just panicking. So the first thing to do is slow breathing, and this seems to help just about everyone. So I've done this animation, and you can find this here. Breathe in and out slowly and deeply, and other ways to calm a panic attack. So you do that for 10 or 20 minutes, and you just just breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and rest for a bit, and breathe out. Just slow breathing like that, and you just keep that going at that speed for 10 or 20 minutes. It's not a meditation, you don't have to do anything, just the physical thing. You don't need to do anything with your mind, just the physical thing of breathing in and then breathing out comes slowly and deeply, and that has an automatic effect on your mind and helps you to calm down. There's another animation down here from De-Stress Monday, and it's the same thing. You can find, I've got some links here, quite a few of these shapes you can do. Breathe in, then you breathe out. Breathe in, and you breathe out. It's quite simple, and it takes you 10 or 20 minutes or longer if necessary, and you'll find your panic. It's not going to just completely, it's not going to eliminate, it's not a magic thing, but it'll take the edge off it, and really help you to cope with your panic. And so just about everyone I help says that helps with them. This is some more exercises involving the breathing, and you can play that video and get a bit of help with that. Some other ways you can do it. Here's some various tips from the UK Mind Charity. Very tips, ways of dealing with relaxation. There's chair yoga that you can do, and there are a number of videos you can do. Here's 6 of these animations like that they've got, so you can try different animations. There's the 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique, which some people find helps. Let's go back. So that's image there. So you just acknowledge it's a mindfulness thing. It's just returning your mind to the present when you're all off in these thoughts about nuclear war, asteroids, or whatever it is, climate change, or whatever it is that worries you. Then just to you acknowledge 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. They're not necessarily things you can taste or smell right now. It can also be memories, like your breakfast or whatever. And so that's De-Stress Monday, which is a site set up by a number of academic institutions to help people who have very high levels of stress. And so that can help you. Then there's also cognitive behavior therapy, which there's a stop skill, and so you can use this even if you're not getting CBT, and CBT is something you can do yourself. There's an online course you can try, though it's much better with a proper therapist who can guide you through it. And if your mind is stuck in ruts about things that scare you, then that many people find, not absolutely everyone, but just about everyone finds CBT is very helpful. So yes, these things you stop, just take 1 breath, and then you observe. And so this is kind of getting down. You focus on the present and focus of attention, and then pulling back and taking a larger perspective. Like many people, they just start panicking, and then they think the most important thing I have to do right now is find out exactly, what everyone is saying about whatever this thing that's scaring you. And it's if you can get a bigger view, a helicopter view, what's another way of looking at this situation? What advice would I give to a friend? Is it a fact or an opinion? I mean, a lot of this is just opinions, and that have scared you. So this is, and this how important will it be in 6 months' time, and often most of these things. And so you have a look at that, and those things. And so I've got lots of links here about things you can help and various advice from psychologists and so on. Many of the people who I help have a therapist who's helping them, so talk to your therapist about what works. And I'll talk about this separately. I mean, if the therapy, if you have a therapy who is helping you, very occasionally we get therapists who try and help people who misdiagnose them. The therapy is based over a long time period of, it's not like medicine, it's not like mending a broken bone. The therapy is saying things that they know from experience with working with other people in the past have helped you. So the things that the therapist tells you to do have to help you. And it may not always be obvious how it's helping you, but they can give a bit of advice of how it's helping you. If your therapist gives you advice, you try it out, and it makes you more and more scared, then something is going wrong. You're not getting the right therapy. And that does happen to some people, particularly with if they misdiagnose you as schizophrenic, and they give you advice such as saying to go more deeply into the thing that's scaring you. And that's a bit like asking a PTSD, or someone who's under extreme fear from something that they've experienced in the past, to go more deeply into the burning fire, or someone did something violent, whatever, you were caught up in someone tried to kill you or whatever, and that is not helpful. Not for the people that we're helping here, because it's not a self-generated delusion. It's something that's come from outside and that scared you, and you need to break from it, and you need to treat it as something. Keep going with your ordinary life. So they might also say, so it's like OCD, and indeed a lot of the people who we help have OCD, and as well, in addition. And whether or not it's your mind getting into a rut, very much like with OCD. And the thing to do is, if you're trouble with the thoughts as well, not just going online and searching, but with the thoughts, then what you need to do is de-escalate. Always de-escalate with these thoughts. If it's a scary thought, you're afraid of an asteroid or something, don't try fighting a thought and trying to stop thinking it. Because if you do, the thought gets stronger. It's not another person, not another being or anything. It's just your own thoughts. If you just try and stop, like if you think about your dancing hippopotamus, in a bright yellow hippopotamus dancing, say, and then try not to think that thought for 10 seconds, then most of us find that very difficult to do, and the thought just gets stronger. And you just have the thought coming up and up and up. And this is, if you try and stop your scary thoughts, then the thought just keeps coming up more and more and more, because that's just the way our mind reacts. They're your thoughts, they're not someone else's thoughts, but just the way our minds work. They spontaneously keep bringing up thoughts. And it's absolutely normal. You may not have noticed that you do this, but it's absolutely normal for our minds to keep bringing up spontaneous thoughts. And most people spend maybe a third or half of their day daydreaming with various thoughts. Even if you're doing your work, the thoughts go through your mind and just not related to what you're doing. And this is very normal. Maybe a few people who have absolutely, their mind is so quiet or something. If they're working on something, all they're thinking about is that work. That's rather unusual for human beings. We seem to still lead very productive lives, even though our mind is all the time off on little mad hair chases of all sorts of stuff. It's just the way we are. It helps us be more creative. It helps us to kind of find other ways of doing things. So hopefully that's what this video that may help you. A video by a professional about how to deal with obsessive thoughts. The panic attacks can be very scary, Well, these panic attacks, they're not, you get your heart beating very quickly, and you might worry that, and it can hurt, a kind of sharp pain. You can have a sharp pain in the heart area if you have a really bad panic attack. It's not a heart attack. So if it's the first time it's happened, you're getting a racing heart, you get a painful sensation in the heart area, then you're good to talk to your doctor and learn to distinguish between a heart attack and a panic attack. So your increased heart rate, a sharp or stabbing chest pain that lasts only 5 or 10 seconds, localized to a small area, and usually occurs at rest with anxiety. And this is that is going to be a panic attack. It's not a heart attack. It's not likely to be a heart attack. Whereas a heart attack is a kind of escalating pain. It takes several minutes to reach the maximum severity normally, and kind of constant pain, dull pressure. You don't particularly. It's not particularly associated with racing heartbeat. So, and shortness of breath, not being able to, hard to walk upstairs and so on. So, I'm not a doctor, but talk to your doctor about the difference between the two. If you worry about whether you might have a heart attack, because you won't, not from a panic attack. And but you know, some people of course do get heart attacks, so you want to know which is which. But and it's but if you're not particularly someone who's at risk of a heart attack, then it's just going to be a panic attack, and you need to know the difference between the two. There's anxiety, nausea, so quite a lot of people get sick. So if you start vomiting when you're panicking, don't worry about that. That is, most of us have never experienced it, but it's a natural reaction that the body has if you're extremely anxious. Then I think it's like your animal that wants to run, and if you've got a lot of food in your stomach, then it's kind of, getting rid of it helps as you race off. And anyway, whatever the reason, it's quite common to vomit. So don't worry about that. It's a bit unpleasant, and the things you can do to kind of reduce the chance that you're going to be vomiting. So eating these are various things: slow sip of water, try to take these long deep breaths. That will help. There's certain things you can avoid, and so some tips here that you can try. Oh, I seem to have repeated myself. Never mind. Oh yeah, that's an image, and this is the text for people who can't read the image. And this, if you get lots of panic attacks, you might often find it hard to get enough sleep, and you might get nightmares and be afraid to go to sleep because of that. So the main thing, and you might often get sleepy in daytime. Some people have power naps, but some people, if it's the actual dreams that's the problem, then actually the power nap can actually make it worse. So you can give that a try. So you set an alarm for 30 minutes. So if you're not getting enough sleep at night and you're very tired during the day, you might find that doing a very short nap of 30 minutes with an alarm, and that helps you wake up at exactly the right time to have not be kind of all dozy and hard to respond when you wake up. 30 minutes, 10 minutes to get to sleep and 20 minutes of sleep is just the right time to wake up and be refreshed. And then 90 minutes and 3 hours are also quite good times if you've got more time. And a good sleep hygiene, just dimming lights as you go to bed, or if you have a tendency to kind of type away on your smartphone just before you go to sleep, then that and the bright lights and being very active, that maybe something a bit more sedentary can help you go to sleep more easily. Anyway, so and I've got some videos to help. How I link to them here. I've got some videos to help you with sleeping. I should put them at the end there. That some people find helpful. It's probably at the end of this. So I'll talk through my 7 tips, and then And then I can also talk a little bit about I'll find those videos that may help you with sleeping. So the first thing is, you do have to see it's nonsense and BS, bullshit, because otherwise, obviously, if it's a real thing, you want to know about it. But the trouble is that these things are not real things; they're fake news. A lot of these things, like if you search for if you search for NASA asteroid warning, which scares lots of people, and just warning, I'm just about to bring up something that might look scary, but it isn't. Search for NASA asteroid warning. There have never been any NASA asteroid warnings. I tell you this before I bring this up. And then you see NASA asteroid warning, asteroid alert. This is fake news. Completely fake news. Google should not run this. Or it should have a little thing that pops up saying fake news. It's not always the Daily Express, the International Business Times. Sometimes some others do it. There are quite a few that are following this. This is not fit. That actually is quite a nice one. That was just one asteroid that got hit in the asteroid belt. Got hit by a tiny little rock, and just over a period of a year or two, it just vanished. The whole thing completely vanished, because asteroids are made out of they're basically little rubble piles, and it just sort of dissolved away after being hit by a tiny rock, only 2 or 3 feet. They didn't see the rock that hit it, but they saw the impact effect. So. But anyway, yes, this is fake news. There's no problem with any. There hasn't been any NASA asteroid warning. I'll just briefly bring that up since I brought that up here. My Sentry table. You can check it at any time if you want. And so this is like a debunk, and then you can read my debunks about asteroids. So if you were scared of that, people who are scared of asteroids, then this is now just checking with NASA and with their Sentry table. They've got a published interface that my program is using, and it's saying there's no asteroid warning at the moment, and there hasn't ever been. And if there was, it would be on your mainstream TV. So that's a debunk, very quick debunk. And then, so once you've done that, once you've got your debunk, then you've got to do that first. And for instance, this is in the time of David Mead. Then you have this whole thing about, you'll probably still be very scared, because your mind got in a rut of being scared, even though you know it's no longer something to be scared of. And so you might try to stop yourself thinking about asteroids. That doesn't work. That's like a yellow hippo. Try not to think about a yellow hippo for 2 minutes. And so cognitive behaviour, but I've talked about that already, and seeing a health professional. Then be sure to eat plenty. Your body needs its strength, and especially so with this. And if you can't eat much, eat a little at a time, and lots of times during the day. And then try to sleep well. And then it can help to think about, especially if it's a near future date, try to think about something in the future. And anyway, generally, think about things in the future, that you make plans for the future, and then think about those things. Because that helps take your mind away from whatever you're working on, whatever's worrying you. And then just continue with your everyday things. Just do, it's a normal reaction, and don't retreat to your room and spend several hours. Nearly everyone who gets scared like this, they report that they spend hours every day just searching the internet for the thing that scares them. And you shouldn't do that. Now, you'll find it quite difficult, maybe, to stop yourself from doing that. So instead, just try it as an experiment. I'm about to do 2 hours of internet searching. Let's just see what happens if I don't. And then try. And you might surprise yourself to find that if you don't search the internet, your mind actually gets calmer, or it doesn't get more scared. And then compare it with what happens if you fail. You might feel, oh, I failed. I meant not to do it. But now 2 hours later, I've spent the last 2 hours searching the internet. Well, notice what that did to your mind. And most people report that they get very scared. It makes it much worse. So, because you're indoctrinating yourself, it's like a tune, like you've got a tune stuck in your mind. So you go and spend 2 hours listening to this tune, in the hope to try and get it unstuck from your mind. It'll have the opposite effect. So what you need to do, you've got this tune stuck in your mind, you may already know it is no longer, you've already been debunked, hopefully, at this stage. Then what you need to do is stop listening to it. It's quite simple, really, and do other things. But it's quite difficult to do if you're panicking about it. So if you do find that you end up spending another 2 hours searching on the internet, then just notice what that did to your mind. And then that'll give you more motivation next time to do something else. And a little tip which I haven't actually mentioned, so that's this, to avoid how to stop. A little tip that could help is to a very simple diary, which you don't want to write down what your thoughts were. Just say, I started searching, I stopped searching, or I started thinking, I stopped thinking. So also people quite often will go and retire to their room just to think about the thing that worries them. If you work at home, it's especially hard. Maybe, it might be that instead of doing your work, you spend hours every day just searching, and your income goes way down because you're no longer earning because you're spending all your time sitting in your room just worrying. And again, just try taking a simple diary that this is when I started thinking, this is when I stopped during the day. Just the times, nothing else. And then that is quite a useful tip to help you first identify, and you can then just notice, I spent 4 hours yesterday just searching the internet or thinking about the thing that worries me. And then think about all the other things you could have done in those 4 hours. And then try gradually replacing it with other things, and schedule things, arranging things, meeting people. And you don't want to cut down on your social life, as so many people do, in order to search the internet and think and worry about the thing that scares you. Just keep going with it in your job and your work. If you're a student, then you don't need to take off a semester or a year to cope with this. Sometimes the therapist might suggest that if they think you're schizophrenic, especially, or something, they might think, you've got to take a break and just deal with this. That's not really the way that it works for this sort of thing. You actually need to keep everything going, if you can. And once you get the right diagnosis, then the therapist will likely advise you on that. And you want to have a job, you want to be future looking, you want to keep doing, and don't do it, just kind of say, well, I'll give up all my ambitions and ideas for the future. Instead, I'll do this page, just some kind of thing to keep me going, and I'll just devote, to have lots of time to just think about this. That's not really what you need to do. You need to keep forward looking, keep going with your life plans, and do things that are going to help in the future. And you want to have all your feet in your daily life, not all your feet in the distraction. And so don't think of your daily life as distraction. So a lot of people think, I'm getting very scared, I will distract myself from it by doing my daily life. Actually, you should have your feet in your daily life and think of this as being the distraction. And then gradually it'll fade away. And then this is about the panic attack again. And then you see health professions, doctors can prescribe medicines to try out, and the medicines are entirely voluntary. And it's only really, you don't need to worry that, some people worry that if they go and see a therapist, then they're going to be locked up in a mental institution or something. These things that are happening to you, all these strange things going on in your mind, they're absolutely normal for someone who panics a lot. And the only situation in which a doctor would say you actually have to go and they're going to force you is if you are at a risk and a danger to yourself and to others. And for the people I help, that is mainly if you become very suicidal. And if you go to a doctor, you go to accident emergency and say, I can't help it, I'm really scared, I'm just about to kill myself. And I've made a plan and I'm afraid I'm going to carry through with it. If you give something like that pretty clear, that you are immediate danger to yourself, not just having suicidal thoughts, but it's something you're quite likely to actually go through with, then they may actually commit you, in the sense they hopefully volunteer on your side, but they'll say, we just need to keep an eye on you for a few days, for your own safety. And so you would be you would be in an environment with therapists to help you, and talking about about your suicidal fears and so on, in a place where if you're really a significant danger to yourself, then they would keep away any sharp objects or anything that you could use to kill yourself. And in a room with in a room, a nice room, not like a jail or anything like that, but a room where you're just kept safe, and that kind of rather boring maybe, but so that is the worst that can happen, but that's only if you're really suicidal. And the other possibility, which just doesn't really apply to the people I help, but if you were a significant danger to other people. So for instance, recently, someone was killed in Edinburgh by someone with schizophrenia, who killed them with scissors, and the attacker was acquitted of murder due to diminished responsibility, because they were basically hallucinating a different reality, and that actually happens. You see, you get these people who literally they're not in this world. They're basically living in a nightmare or a dream, and what they see around them, they actually hallucinate. They don't see the world as we see it. They might actually see creatures there that we don't see, like in a dream. So someone like that also, then they also can be committed in order to save other people, and themselves as well. They might walk out of the window of the third floor, not realizing where they are, because they're hallucinating a different reality. So those are the two reasons. Apart from that, a doctor is not going to say that you've got to go into a mental hospital or anything like that. And even if you're very suicidal, then most often you're going to be helped in the community. And it's only if you're really suicidal and you're just about to do it, or sort of thing, then they'll say, well, we have to keep an eye on you for a while, and you'd be there probably with other suicidal people for a few days until you get over it. So anyway, and then be sure to, so normally this is not going to happen, and they're just going to give you, they might suggest some medicine. Do ask them about their side effects, ask them about withdrawal, how easy is it to withdraw from the symptom. They don't give you addictive things, but they may give you a strong medicine which you have to withdraw for about a week or two in order to not have bad symptoms as you diminish on it. And but they're generally very gentle medicines, and you can just try them out. So it's up to you. It's entirely up to you. Ask them what it's for. Make sure you know what the medicine is for, and what it's supposed to do, and then to decide for yourself if you want to give it a go. And you might have to try several different medicines before you find the one that works for you. So that can help. And then just but it's mainly going, it's an awful lot is going to be the therapy, just talking meditation, talking therapy, and it's not talking about your childhood or anything like that. It's looking at your thoughts. If it's cognitive behavior therapy, it's looking at your thoughts and the patterns you're getting stuck into right now, and what perpetuates these habits, these patterns. And like for instance, if you find it very difficult to avoid going online, and looking at what caused those problems, and then finding a way of dealing with them, a simple, easy way of dealing with them. And so that so that is actually very effective for most people. And then just be sure to, some of the things you're scared of may think, oh, this is going to be sound very silly to them. Don't worry about that, because they're used to people coming and saying things that sound silly, and they know that you're scared of them. And don't worry about scaring the professional. They've heard everything. So these things, like an asteroid warning, for instance, then they're not likely to be scared by this. Then you don't need to worry about scaring them by this, because they'd be reasonably scientific people who would just be a doctor. You've got to have a good background in science, and to have and medicine is a science. So they're going to see this. They're going to be much more grounded in the scientific side of things, and things that scare you, especially if you've got a non-scientific background, and they will see them differently. And don't worry about that. Do be really make it very, very clear to them. It might be a good idea during the therapy session, or during the diagnosis session, to actually ask them, please bring up the web searches and show them what it looks like on the web. Make it absolutely clear it's from outside. And if you've got your thoughts bothering you, explain they're just thoughts, because that's where you get the misdiagnosis. It's where people say, I'm hearing voices. What a psychotherapist means by, what they understand by hearing voices is it's literally, it hears like there's someone talking to you, just like anyone else talking to you. That is a hallucination of a voice, a hallucinated sound, and hallucinated and vivid images. They're actually seeing, like Pokemon, like in Pokemon, these creatures, but in real life without a digital display. And so make it clear that they're just the thoughts, and they're just things that you've seen on the internet, and they're just vivid images in your mind if you're very visual in thinking, that are scaring you. And if you so that's where you get this misdiagnosis, but of schizophrenia is from this, and from the rather fanciful things that people get scared of, and they will think, oh, this must be coming from inside you, but they're not. So make it clear to them they're coming from the internet. You believe them because you saw them on the internet, and you think they're true because there's lots and lots of Google search results of people saying that it's true, and because there's some pretty daft people out there, and but they seem impressive to some other people. So that should help them to diagnose you correctly. Let's make that really clear. And some people, they find it difficult waking up in the morning, and they kind of freeze. And that may seem a little bit like the schizophrenia freeze, but it isn't. A catatonia. It's freezing like a little animal that's scared. So this is a symptom that you get with acute stress disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and such like disorders, apparently. So some of the people I help, then they get that as well. So if you find yourself freezing in the morning, then one little tip that may help is basically, I think that it's like it's our ancestral worry about saber-toothed tigers and carnivores, and that when we had to evolve this tendency to freeze. I wouldn't suppose that a lion, if we'd been evolved from lions, I doubt a lion would have much of a tendency to freeze when faced with danger. But we were like monkeys and antelopes and things. Then if you freeze, then it gives the impression that you're carrion. And for most predators, they're not really interested in carrion. Not interested in dead animals. They're interested in very fresh, young, moving, living animals. And so these they just kind of freeze. So one thing that might help is just gradually start moving and looking around, and just look around and check onto your bed and check in your cupboard like you do with a young child who's got scared of something, and check in the bathroom and check that there aren't any saber-toothed tigers around, even though you know absolutely sure, you absolutely know intellectually there aren't, but just convince your kind of evolutionary self, as it were, your ancestor, as it were, who used to live in a cave and was afraid of saber-toothed tigers. Just convince yourself there aren't any saber-toothed tigers around, and it's kind of silly, but that may help. But anyway, so if that happens, then that's the likely reason. we there are people with schizophrenia who get scared of these things, but they don't come to our group. I've heard that it can happen, and if you're schizophrenic, I suppose you'd find this kind of social setting, not the place you go. And so far, I have not yet come across anyone with actual schizophrenia who's PM'd me and said, "Oh, I've got schizophrenia and I'm scared of this stuff." So it's very, very unlikely statistically. And just for our group, if you're listening to this, well, but if you're in the general public, but so it could be the two combined. There's some people with schizophrenia. If you've got schizophrenia anyway, then you might get scared by these stories as well. But it's not the same thing. It's because these stories are coming from outside, and many people get scared by them. And so I say, don't worry, you'll infect them with their fear, and it can help heal your mind. And the prognosis of this is very, very good, because it started on a particular thing. And it's like PTSD and acute stress disorder. It's not like generalized anxiety disorder, which is a general condition that people have throughout their life, they can have, or from starting at a particular age. But this is much more something triggered by something external for the people I help. And you can get over it. And you can get completely over it. And some people eventually get totally over it and then come back, and they're in the group actually helping other people as debunkers. Because there's only one thing that was scared them, and then this thing that scared them, they saw the debunk, they understood the debunk, they have worked through it, and their fears have just gone away. And so we have several members that are like that. They're just completely over the thing that scared them, and the people that I help via PM. And in fact, it's absolutely normal. There's very few people left, like a year after, who are still scared. There were some of them, especially if it's difficult to debunk. If there's something a little bit kind of tricky with the debunk, then that's the most likely that it will keep coming back, which it keeps niggling at you. Has it really been debunked properly, sort of thing. But so you get a few people who are still a little bit scared from time to time, a year later, but it's most people are over it well within a year, and usually weeks to months. And sometimes if you get to a debunk and then professional help within right away, then you could be over it in days. Continue to have enough exercise. There's some physical guidelines, and it's not a good idea to try fasting to lose weight, but you can tackle that with a diet, with a sensible weight loss diet. If you put on weight because of your anxiety, remember the suicide crisis lines. They're no substitute for a professional therapist helping you, but they can give you that immediate help in the moment, and that if you're especially if you're feeling suicidal and you just need someone to talk to, and it's the middle of the night and none of your friends are available, or you just don't feel you can talk to people about it, then there's always a friendly voice at the end of a suicide crisis line. And it's not really like a professional therapist, particularly each time you ring up, then you have to start explaining again from the scratch, because it'll be a new person. But it's a great. A lot of people do find that they're a great help, just to get through those difficult moments. And then it's help with nightmares. That a lot of people do get nightmares. First of all, if you get a dream of something happening in the future, this does not mean that it's going to happen. It's actually very normal. Like if you've read about an asteroid warning, to then have a dream about that asteroid on the date of the warning, for instance. Just an example. That's it's just like you have dreams of past things. You have dreams of future things that haven't happened and that are not going to happen. And it's an example that I often use is that a lot of people dream, if they're scared about something that's going to happen in the future, if they're dreaming about like making a very important presentation towards some really important people that you, or just a large audience or whatever, and then you might dream that you lose all your clothes in the middle of the presentation. This thing you often get on the TV movies make fun of it, but there's no real risk that this is going to happen. You know, your clothes are perfectly secure and they're not just going to suddenly vanish. So, but that's a dream that people often have. So that this shows that dreams of the future do not mean a real thing is going to happen in the future. And so it's very, very likely, it's really quite likely, if you're worried about some future event, that you'll dream about it, and dream it as it being in that future time. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. And then you can't do much about nightmares directly, but you can play there's so you need reminders when you wake up, and not sure what I'm saying just there, but there are these videos that are there are the example soundtracks. I'm probably just leading into these. So lots of videos, sound with sound. You know, just you can play one of these, and so 11 hours of birds chirping. And these are very calming and peaceful for most people. So you find the one that actually you find most peaceful, so waterfalls, birds chirping. I've got a whole page of them over here. Waterfalls, streams flowing, thunderstorms, rain, and if you've got a short one, you can loop it. And make sure your laptop doesn't power down in your sleep. So the idea is, when you're in deep sleep, you're not going to hear this. But any time that you wake up, come up to your dreams, then you're especially starting to wake up, then you hear this, and this relaxing sound will help you a little bit. And again, it's just taking the edge off it a bit. Some people find that may help. You may find that helps. You just leave it running all night while you're sleeping, and so that may help a bit with your nightmares, and with and also quite a lot of people they have night terrors where they just wake up, and I'm not sure whatever it is they have, they just wake up and they're just very scared, but they don't remember any particular nightmare, and again it can help with that. And then if you get nightmares, if you get night terrors, they're absolutely normal for someone who's gone through what you've gone through. And yeah, I've got a lot more links. So that's wait, try and find my thing. Yeah, here we are. I think that's everything I meant to talk about. If you have any questions, then be sure to say. Yes, so these 7 tips, that they actually come from people saying that they work for them, so I then wrote them up, and then I get a lot of feedback from people saying that this works for them. So I'm sharing with you what people say works, and they share these things. So hopefully this will help you as well.